There's greatness inside of you. Let's do greatness with love. Unleash it in the greatness of His love. Transformation that you can have, coming from God above. Welcome to the greatness hub. Welcome to the greatness hub.
Hello there, I'm Coach Carrie. Join me for inspirational conversations on education innovations and redesign learning experiences. Teaching out of the box every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. only on the Greatness Hub online channel. At the Greatness Hub, together we discover, we develop, and we dominate our greatness. See ya!
There's greatness in life. There's greatness inside of you. Let's do greatness with love. Unleash it in the greatness of
It makes me transcend boundaries, cultures, and beliefs. And for me to teach means that you have that overflowing desire to reach out to others, to share what you have, and develop that unwavering interest.
Greatness hub. Welcome to the greatness hub.
Great evening, everyone. I'm Coach Carrie. Welcome to Teaching Out of the Box, where inspirational conversations on educational innovations and redesigned learning experiences are delivered by guests who are on the educational field day in and day out. Welcome to the Greatness Hub online channel. This is our first episode, and our guest for today's episode has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in education major in early childhood education. She has been teaching for 10 years, 6 years in the preschool, and currently teaching on the grade school. It takes a village to raise a child. This is the coach she carries with her as she takes on the role of an educator. She is oriented to progressivism. She believes that children need to learn at their own pace with the proper support and guidance from parents, teachers, and other significant adults. Without further ado, let me introduce to you my schoolmate from high school, Mrs. Katerina Bernice Arnaiz Banares. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Carrie. Good evening.
It's a Tuesday evening, and I am so happy that you are gracing my show. Just before the show, we had a long chit chat, no, because it has been a long time since we last talked. Siguro the last talk we had, which was really a conversation, maybe was in high school pa, and then after that, siguro we see each other sometimes. I cannot remember na, it's been a long time. And when I was asked to host this show, I was really thinking of the people who are coming to me or who I talk to regarding education. And just recently, maybe that was weeks ago, Pakit, when we were talking in Messenger. All then at that time, we really had a good conversation about being a teacher, about life. So before we start with the interview about educational innovation and redesigning learning experiences, let me just ask you a breather question. How's married life working for you? By the way, to our audience, Miss Kate, I know her as Kate, has been married. How long na gani, Kate?
Around, I think, 6 months.
6 months.
Just a rough estimate. I haven't been
Yeah, yeah.
counting.
And like, how's getting married during lockdown, during quarantine?
I think I wouldn't want it or have it any other way. I think it was special and it was really for us. Might have been simple. We would have wanted everyone to be there. But once everything is better, I think that's when we really have, a celebration where not just for us, but I think a gathering with the whole family. But
Yeah,
it's been good. I've been
that
supporting him here, and in the same way that he supports me in, since we're just at home, so we're trying our best to not really distract each other, especially during work hours.
can you just briefly tell us something about your journey as a student and then leading to how you became a professional and why you decided to become a teacher? Can you take us back to the Kate that I personally knew when in school up until the Kate? How many years ago was that, Kate? Oh, that would mention our age na, no? So
Yeah.
let's just have it at a few years after high school.
Okay, so it took me a while to decide what I wanted for college. I had a lot of options. I actually wanted to be in the medical field and allied science. I wanted to take up speech pathology and even dentistry at that time, but of course, there were other options open. So my sister, my older sister, my ate, was the one who suggested, "Oh, you take up psychology. It's an interesting program, a field." And of course, I knew about psychology, but just for the title itself. But then I really did not know what it was about. Of course, they would say, "Hala, sige, you psych a person." But of course, as I went through the my 4 years, it's not just about psyching someone or becoming a psychic. That's their joke that they joke about. So once I chose to finally take up psychology, do away with my plans of taking dentistry, and I found it important, especially in understanding human behavior. Also, I thought there was no math, but there is math. There's statistics that, that goes with it. So it doesn't mean like when you're in a social science field, there's no math. Trust me, the math is also quite a struggle. But of course, with practice and of course, you have to attend the classes just for you to understand the concepts. And I decided to, of course, there were so many theories, background in psychology that we had to take in. One thing that I realized is that since you know all these theories and you also know the situations or the human behavior, you become a little bit, or maybe it's just me, you become quite sensitive to others. You put yourselves in their shoes. But I think there's too much empathy that I'm facing or I'm experiencing that sometimes I don't know how to handle or to, how do I say it, like to avoid it or not to be too attached. But might be for some, they're quite strong. So, but for me, I easily cry. So that's, I think, one disadvantage for me. But nevertheless, I took up psychology. One, my favorite subject is child psychology, perception. It's actually about the neurons in the brain, what happens when you're pinched, what happens when you're bitten or something, and also abnormal psychology. But it's quite a very sensitive discussion. But of course, when I graduated, I delved into the field of child psychology. So I proceeded teaching children, preschool children from ages 3 to 4 years old. I transitioned to a lower level around toddler for quite some time, 18 months. And then culminating my this preschool years, I handled kinder. That was my last year, but it was for 6 years. That's a huge chunk of my years in teaching. I guess and other than that, I throughout the course of teaching children, you don't teach children for just one kind of setup, one kind of method, one kind of strategy because we know that children are unique individuals. They come from different social backgrounds, they come from different environments, families, and even the parents themselves are raised differently. So a child brought in school, you have, and how many children, like 15 in a class, since there's a specific ratio that we need to handle. We can't go over it, taking into account the safety of the children as well. So you really need to know how to handle them. And even if I say like, oh, it's kids, it's easy to handle them because they're young, but trust me, I think they are the most not vulnerable, but they're the most sensitive. They're You have to be very careful when you deal with them because you're rearing them. This is like the baseline or the critical period in their learning and development. So you need to learn the theories, go back to the theories that you remembered, what you've learned, and even study. So I never stopped reading about techniques, strategies, and how to deal with kids. Some kids are easier to manage, some kids are not. And at present, I'm teaching grade school. It's the same thing. Um, I think Coach Carrie mentioned earlier about my educational philosophy, progressivism, because I think that there's not no one way of teaching a child. There are many methods that you can use, and but taking into account that it's age appropriate. That's what I always keep in mind, even now that I'm handling an older level. I think that's it.
See, it's an unexpected journey for you, graduating from psychology and then landing onto a teaching job. Nonetheless, you becoming a pre-K or a grade school teacher, or you mentioned even a toddler, no, a toddler
Yes.
teacher. Like, how do you teach kids with that age, or what do you teach those kids? For the information of everybody and the audience, Miss Kate or Teacher Kate is in a private school with say 15 kids. I, for one, am from the public education system, and I know that in our primary school, in our pre-K, we don't have the advantage of having 15 kids in our class. We have a minimum of 45. You're lucky if you have 45. And at some cases, you have a maximum of 60 or even more. But me personally, Kate, I have really high regards for pre-K, for grade school teachers. Sometimes when I get into classrooms, both in public and in the private school, I'm really amazed at how you prepare, you decorate your rooms, and the preparation you go into for each of your classes. And I personally wouldn't be able to handle children. That's the reason why I went into secondary education. And before, I had a tutorial center and I handled kids. I taught them how to read, Kate. We had students there. We were teaching them how to read the letter, have the sound of the letter, match the picture, and trust me, I wouldn't handle it. So that's why I have high regards. And you mentioned techniques. You always upgrade yourself with your techniques. But how is it working with preschool kids and grade school kids? What are your best memories of them for face to face, or like for the past 6 years that you've been working with them? What are your like experiences with these kids?
I think one thing that I would never forget, even until now, or is the time when they reach a milestone. I think that's the most rewarding thing that could ever happen to a teacher, especially when you know that kids are struggling, they have difficulty, may it be academically, may it be emotionally, or even um, concerns at home. But since they still strive to do what they can and they reach a certain goal, that's one thing that I think it's very important, because you see at the end of the day they still love to go to school. They still love to learn. And that's one thing I don't want to take away from the children. Plus, of course, the hugs. Since the this is the Philippines, were allowed to be affectionate with the children by assuring them, giving them a pat on the back, a high five. Or for preschool kids, the girls love to hug, or the kids want to hug you. But of course, with you have to be very cautious and careful at the same time. So I think that the milestone, the strides that they achieve, not just academically.
It's really fun, no, working with kids, with children. I just have a question, just a random thought. How do you like discipline those children? Like, do you get angry? Because us in high school, we really have to like, as for me, I am strict at the start just to show to them how things are done, or how like my classroom rules are. But like, I don't think you're always just smiling just to let
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Well, I think my management style has changed in the last few years, since I transitioned from preschool all the way to grade school. So, of course, in preschool, what we do is we set some rules. The same with grade school. The general, how do I say it? Task that we do that cuts across all levels is the rules and discipline. But for now, for grade school, which is somehow a bit similar to preschool, just a little bit more higher in level, is in class in the beginning of the school year, I really set the rules. I'm not strict, but I discipline the kids. But in this discipline is not like screaming at them or scolding them or sanctioning them for something. In the beginning, we post rules on the wall, and sometimes we even let them suggest some rules that they think is important in class, and they sign it. We post it on the wall so that they can read it, and if they If they did something wrong, like not coming to school early or on time, not submitting their work, we go back to the rules that we have established. That's one. And of course, you mentioned about we're not always smiling. We do try. Of course, not every day. It doesn't mean that we're always happy. There are days when we're so exhausted, we're so tired. But we tell them. We tell them because I think emotions are vital. It's it's one thing for it's very important for for the kids to identify emotions, to know when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're frustrated, and to also be verbal about it, like to speak or to say out your emotions when you're not happy, because I also don't want the kids to be like, to pile up and to just burst and get frustrated. So in the same way, teachers, we tell them that, okay, girls, I'm a bit tired today. Can you help me? Who can be my teacher assistant? Of course, where there are some rules because they fight over, I want to be the teacher assistant. I want to do this. So there are some rules also, like assigned people, children for that day. But we have to show we're not emotional, but to really be honest with our emotions. And then another thing is, I think you just have to be sincere. Kids can tell when you're faking it. So they can sense that you don't like them. So of course there are some kids that we're amused with because they're funny, they're adorable, and there's some kids that are not so expressive, and these are the kids that need the most attention, and I think the love also. What is important is that you show that you love the kids, and everything will come smoothly.
Yeah. So
That's
you
it.
mentioned, yeah, you mentioned that we have to be genuine with the kids and everything. Like, have you encountered instances where like parents tell you, since we have parents here as audience, a lot of parents are struggling with their children, their who are under their care now, both as their daughter or son and as their student. So, like, have you ever encountered a situation wherein like parents tell you that the student or their children believe teachers more than the parents, like before in the face-to-face setup, or like when they do assignments, like, no, this is not how it's done, this is not how teacher taught it, no, no, you're not supposed to do that, or
Well, I think that can't be avoided. It's really happening where kids really trust the teachers more than the parents. So when they do assignments, they would say, that's not how the teacher does it. But I assure the kids when, of course, I am not speaking for all because I handle only, but usually this is for kids, for the primary level. We give out the topic outline. I think maybe because in my school we give out the rules, the activities that they would have to do, and everything is in the book, although it's not recorded as compared to the online classes. But then with this kind of setup, we tell the if when a parent comes and she's complaining or saying, just expressing her concern that, oh miss, my daughter is not listening to me, I speak to the child and explain to her that mom is trying her best also, because there might also be a power struggle between the parent and the child. So it's more of you're the mediator, but you also don't take the role of the parent. I think that's one thing I'm also very careful about, is not to push away the parent on the side and take over the role even in school. So I think I kept it in mind that we're facilitators, we're we guide, we assist the kids, but we never take on the role of a parent, because the children learn first where? At home. And
at
that's
home.
very important, right? The family is the basic unit of society, and that's where the child learns, and the parents are their first teachers. And at the same time, the parents are the people we collaborate with, so that their children would be able to grow, to be confident, to be happy, to have that interest for learning and love for life.
That's great, Kay. I am just fascinated by how patient you educators, I mean, you teachers are in the grade school. And I believe you have close interaction with parents. So, parents who are watching right now would be having a difficult time switching the roles ba, from being a mother to being their teacher, or from being a father to their teacher. How do you think parents should like encourage the children to like do their schoolwork now that they're just at home?
That's a tough question, actually. How do I say it? I think the first thing that the parents have to really look into is the time. They have to look into the time to manage their time. When should they be assisting their children? Because if it's in a random time in a day, the kids will not have their routine.
Routine.
Yeah, so you know how kids, we're creatures of habit. So we would like to have a certain time where we can schedule, especially kids. They need a certain routine so that they can function well and have a reward, which is playtime. So that's one thing that the parents have to establish. Even teachers, we really stick to our time. So parents, if you teach your kids at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, make sure it's around that time. Or if you're really busy, then that's okay at least, but not every day that you miss out, because of course the kids will not really stick to the time for their schoolwork. And because the parents have work and they're actually working at home also. So if it can't be helped, I think that let the child also grow, where the child can work on her own first. Especially, I think grade two kids once, or even grade one. I think the first few months of the online class were much of a struggle for everyone, where managing time, doing the activities were difficult, and teachers bombarded the parents with so many things to do because we were also learning at that time. But I'm hoping that in all schools, or most of the schools now, there's a balance of work and play, so that the parents can also have time for themselves. So I think that the kids can do tasks on their own. And one thing, make a list. I think that's one thing that's important. Make a list that you post on the wall, and then have the kids, you have an activity, and of course the teacher sends the activity a week before, so you know already what happens this week. So let the kids work on, okay, work on civics, work on math, and then next tomorrow work on science, and then have a checklist so that the kids can put a check mark. The kids can monitor, oh mom, I'm done with page 76 and 77. And if they are really struggling, they're going to skip it, and that's okay. The same thing online. That's what I do. If the kids really cannot understand, I find a time where I can work with them. But of course, it's different at home because it's hands on. So let the child work on her own first, especially when they're independent already, when they're capable to read. I think it's important that they can read, because if the child cannot read at that age and she's in grade one, you will really have a struggle working with her independently. I think that's important, that your daughter or your son has to be an independent reader.
Yeah, I asked
Yeah.
that question because when you were mentioning, we're talking about parents and teachers, I just remembered my sister, who I know is watching right now, that advice of having a routine and listing things, I'm sure will work for her because she already has a grade one daughter.
Yes, of course, a different routine from those school age children, but of course a routine will help the kids. And plus, if they can read, they can just check, oh mommy, I'm done with this. And once the child is done with everything, then let the child play. I think
Yeah,
let
so
them have their own time.
yeah, so this advice goes out for all the parents there who's having a hard time taking on the teacher role. So like switching hats from being a mom to being the teacher, or from being a dad to being the teacher. So
And I think,
before,
carry one last thing, the mom has to have the support of everyone at home.
yes.
Without the support of the other people at home, the husband, maybe a helper or a grandparent, it will be the mom has to switch hats. The mom has to take on so many roles at home. So it's really a struggle. But of course, a lot of parents can do it. A lot of us. But of course, the support is very important. That's why I sent you a quote, which is that's one where it takes a village to raise a child. It's not just one parent, but it's everyone, the significant people around the child's bubble, that would really matter.
And I believe, Kate, it should be the same. Like on how strict the mom is, that should be like how strict the dad is when it comes to studying. Like, I mean, what I'm saying is they should have like the same rules. It's not that, or should it be like one parent should be lenient, or what?
I think they should agree on one rule, but
Yeah,
there's one parent who's very soft. Either
yeah,
way, perhaps it's
yeah,
the dad,
yeah.
but at least they agree on a rule where the kids or the children can follow. Because once they don't have that rule, it's going to be hard at home if the kids can get away with almost everything.
I see. So we are getting into the heat of the discussion, into the sharing, into the talk about education. For everybody's information, the Greatness Hub online channel is a new channel. It was just launched yesterday. First few episodes were aired yesterday, Monday, and now today, Tuesday. And we have shows. I think this is also for Kate because although I gave Kate already a preview about the channel, the shows, and everything, we are still on our pilot week. This is our first episode, and the Greatness Hub online channel is a channel brought to you by iHelp Coaching Business Solutions Incorporated. We have online shows, we also have ebooks, we also have life coaching. You can get online certificates, a lot of things you can get from iHelp. And the Greatness Hub online channel is only one of the services that we deliver. And the hosts of the different shows of the Greatness Hub online channel are all iHelp affiliate coaches, and a mix of shows are prepared for audience of all ages to watch. The shows currently, as of the moment, we have 32 shows and counting. So here are the titles of the show. So Usapang Ipon by Coach Dre every Monday. You're Hired by Coach Artie every Monday as well. The Weekly Catch Up by Coach Pao. And for Tuesday, every Tuesday noon, it's prayer time by Coach Ira. And right before my slot, there's Teacherpreneur by Coach Marife, and then Teaching Out of the Box by yours truly, Coach Carrie, every 6 to 7 p.m. And we also have Transformed every Tuesday and Speak with Success by Coach Sass every Tuesday as well. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have a different mix of shows. We have Rated PG by Coach Momshi about parenting with greatness. We also have The Heart of Entrepreneurship, Tech Talks by Coach Arkale, A Man Thing, Led to Lead, Digipreneurship, Your Excellency, Rehab, What's on Your Mind, Yodo, You Die Once, You Live Every Day, Ahente Diaries, Your Friend Online, Certified OFW, Word Meditation, Beauty Talks, Let's Talk About Love, God's Divine Prescription, and You Talk, I Listen. Our Facebook page and on our website, we are showing to you the different shows and the different schedules that the Greatness Hub has. So, by the way, for those who have comments, questions, you can type in the comment box and questions to her about education on preschool and grade school children. So, are there shows, Miss Kate, that suits your interest aside from those relating to education, from those that I've mentioned? That you might probably want to watch like after our show or like
Oh,
or
I was
yeah,
so curious about you die.
you
What was
die
that?
once, you die once, you live every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so Coach Jazz, that's every Saturday, Kate, 6 to 7 p.m. So if that really got your attention, Coach Jazz, I'm having my guest here as one of your like subscribers. Maybe she will watch your show on Saturday. So yeah,
But
so
I might be interested to look into the other shows as well.
yeah, the other
Yeah.
shows. There are a lot, Kate. And as of the moment, we are 32 and we are growing. So
Yes.
when I joined, we were before me there were only like 14. Like I'm the 16th, I think, if I remember it clearly, and now it's doubled, so we're 32. So there are a lot of shows that you watch. We are aiming to be like the TED Talk, like the Netflix of the Philippines. So it's a growing show. So going back, Kate, is there anything aside from teaching that piques your interest? Like if you're not a teacher, what are you doing or what are you interested into?
For now, actually, everything is a pause since I just got married, so I'm still adjusting with my time schedule. So I'm learning how to cook. I think that's one thing. So I've been looking into videos in Facebook and YouTube and famous chefs who can, who and their videos. But of course, I'm still learning, so I just choose the basic and one thing that's easy to buy in the market. Just that. I think for now, I do crochet. I do I tutor also, but everything is on a pause, especially that since we meet online, so I find it a bit exhausting after a long day of meeting the kids online as well.
Yeah, so we are now learning how to like block our time. Okay, like before we were into multitasking was a thing. Doing everything you like to do, going out and about. We rarely stay at home. When we go to work, we go home very late. We have that because like on our age we really want to explore. But now that we are forced to into the pandemic, we try to discover new things, and that's great. You mentioned we are in a pause, and I believe
Yes.
for you, take this as a positive thing. I
It's
have
a
that as well.
downtime. It's a downtime, but of course, I think this is also the time for me. I forgot to mention to read books that I read before, but I will read it again. Even the books that I read when I was in high school, like Narnia, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, the series books, because I think when I was reading it, I was in passing, or of course, that's how many years ago. So I really cannot remember all the details. But leisure reading is, I think, good because since I handle kids, my vocabulary has lowered. So it would be good to also, be in a level higher because I have to make the words simpler for the kids so that they would understand.
Yeah, we're the same. Just this year, I made it to a point that I'm going to forcefully read a book because I have a lot of I bought that are just like at the side because yeah, we're busy and all. And they say, Kate, that there are times when we read a book at a different age or at a different like season in our life. We get to have like inputs or like our perceptions are different. So like if like let's say the purpose driven life, I read it in high school, it was different. Like there was a time in college when I reread it again and it was different for me. And now that like we're into how many years na in our profession, it's a different take on it. And even on fiction books, like our perspectives have changed. We're not anymore the high school students who first read that book or something. So it has changed. And it's really nice when you read, no, it's like having another friend. They say having a book is having another friend. Now,
Yes.
going back to like having a downtime and relaxing. Of course, there are days when we miss going out. Also, we miss our the kids, like having physical interaction with them face to face. What are the things that you miss, or let's say you miss, or what are the like striking struggles or challenges you face as a teacher pre-pandemic and now that we are at the online? So like let's talk now. We've already talked about your fondest memories about face-to-face. Let's talk now about your struggles and your challenges, both pre-pandemic and now during the pandemic.
I think pre-pandemic, my struggle is the traffic, completely the traffic. But since you have to wake up early, so I think the time that you're supposed to just relax in the morning, it gets taken away because of the traffic. So I make it to a point if I can to really leave early so that when I'm in school, I'm the first one to turn on the aircon, to turn on the lights, and have things ready the same time, the same thing I did the day before, where I'm the last person to leave the classroom because I want things somehow ready. And when you're there in the morning, you have to be cautious also because kids come in. So we make sure that by the time the kids are coming in the classroom, we're already there greeting them, or we don't really need to be like, to be by the door. We're just in our tables checking something, but at least our presence is there. That's one thing that I think it's important. So the struggle is the traffic, but then in school, I think there's the difficulty is really managing your time. And I think until now, even during the pandemic, I think managing our time is still at a phase where we're still, I mean, for me, it's still a practice. I still have to really list down what I need because I'm quite forgetful and I miss out something. But of course, it's a practice. It's every day is our day to try again. So every day also I try to list and remember the things that I need to do. But other than that, I think maybe I got used to the challenge of really working with kids, and if there are parent problems, then we try to address it and we choose the proper channel. We just don't retaliate or react once the parent becomes a little bit strong about something. We have so even if we're tired, we need to be in our best behavior also when we deal with parents who have concerns about school or about their child. Now, this pandemic, my struggle is not really the tasks, but I think the way for the kids to participate, to learn, especially that you don't see them, there's no interaction, you can't go around the tables and check their work. So of course the school has imposed rules already to turn on your videos if you can. Of course we can't force also if they have trouble with their internet. And then submission is within a time frame. We practice maximum tolerance, but of course we also encourage the kids to really be disciplined, and at the same time they come to class wearing their uniforms. That's really a rule for us, so that they have a feel that they're still in school. So, as I mentioned, there should be a set of rules and there should be discipline. The struggle is every day, but of course as teachers we also not just survive. I think it's more of we learn something every day, and that's one thing that I think it's I think important for me to really learn something every day.
So you already mentioned, no, the your what are your ways around these struggles and challenges. You mentioned that you still follow strict deadlines. So like us in the public school, we are asked to be like lenient. Of course, not all students have internet connections, and there are also times when like they have late submissions. In your setup, in your setup, like what do you mean by like you deadline submissions, maximum tolerance on these submissions?
Well, since the setup for private school is different, we it actually depends on the level. So the older the kids are, the more limited, like maybe for a week or so, because the teachers also need to check it for the next
Mhm.
lesson. They can't really
Yeah,
submit it within 2 weeks. But for
yeah, yeah.
kids, for the primary level, we give them around 2 weeks, 2 weeks to submit everything. Now there are times when they can't comply because of some concerns. That's when we apply maximum tolerance, where we follow up with the parent, we inform the we inform the teachers also, or those under them, since I'm also teaching other levels, so we inform the class advisor, oh, this child has not submitted it, please follow up. And to an extent also we communicate with the parents, send them emails, send them messages on Viber or any platform, as long as we can reach them. And if we have time also, we make up classes with the kids, we meet them in our free time. I think that's one thing for the private school. Perhaps there's a bit of um, time for us where we can assist the kids, because there's a maximum number per class. We also don't
Ah,
want to stress them, especially at this time.
yes, yes, of course. Let enlighten us, the audience, and me as well, with the private school setup, because I know in the public school elementary system, there's only like one teacher for like all subjects, if not
Oh,
all most subjects. So like in the setup in the public school elementary or the grade school, like one teacher teaches everything. Like how about in the private school or in where you teach? What is like the setup? Do you only handle
well,
one?
I'm speaking for the school I am in. Well, we are assigned to a specific subject. So it can be that you teach only that subject for that level, but it's also possible that you can be teaching one subject that cuts across three levels. So you'll be
Mm,
teaching reading for grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3. And there are also chances where you will have to teach um, in a higher level if you are capable or qualified.
I see. So currently you are handling reading. You mentioned a while ago you were handling reading and writing, I think.
Just reading. Yes,
Just
reading.
reading, just reading.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes.
So how do you think like the reading, how do you think reading or like delivery of reading class um from pre-pandemic to now, how has it changed? How have you adjusted? Like in pre-pandemic, you can really like ask the students to read, you can listen, you can correct right away. Like now in online class, how do you do it? And what are the things that remain the same and what are the tweaks that you do?
Well, I think the what's constant are the books. So they have the books ahead. Before the school year started, we have given the parents a set of books so that it's easier for them to navigate. So, for example, you have a specific lesson, so you just instruct them. And of course, the first few months last year were quite a struggle. The kids were navigating around the Google Classroom. They still have a hard time where to go, what to do. So the parents were also learning about it. So actually, it's both ways. I was learning how to manage the kids. The parents were learning how to really handle the kids at home. So the setup is I give the instructions ahead, like a week ahead of time, because there might be problems with the internet. It's unexpected, so it's better to have things prepared. The parents will have the activities downloaded ahead of time also. So I think per 2 weeks we have the things or the activities ready, lesson plans or modules, instructions posted online. And what has helped me is that most of my lessons are in the book. So I just give them instructions on what to do and then have some videos if I can. But I usually meet them online if it's possible and there are no problems, there are no issues with my internet connection. But I do have a backup. I record videos in case there might be children who don't have internet connections but have downloaded them ahead. Another thing is that I think the kids are coping up also.
Mm.
And that's one thing that I think has become easier for me because I have adjusted, they have adjusted also. They have coped up, I also have coped up.
I see. We share the same sentiments that at the start of the year, everyone was like grappling in the dark, both the teachers and the students and the parents as well. But like now we're at the end part of the school year, we have adjusted to the online setup. Now, in the distance learning, like when you teach children, can you like show us how you like teach children to read or how you like engage them, so that they won't like a lot of students get bored with online classes or whatever. What are your techniques, or how do you deliver your class that it's not boring or that the students still feel that they are still inside the classroom?
Well, I think one thing that I have not taken out is their their capacity to still use their senses. So they read, they write, they talk. So during asynchronous sessions, since of course I think the schools have the setup of asynchronous and synchronous sessions, but of course we encourage to have a limited online or computer exposure. But the kids love to talk, the kids love to share their thoughts. So during a synchronous session for an hour, I provide 30 minutes, or actually I'm online the whole time, but the 30 minutes is really interaction time. So sometimes, since they have the books, we discuss about specific topics, they share, and I impose, I really provided some rules that they have to have a paper and a pencil. Writing is vital, even up to this time. And I don't want the kids to be using their computers to answer. So if I see and if there's a child who's asking me, Miss, can I use Google Docs? I would say no, write in the paper, because that's one thing that would develop their skills and their writing. Even when you're older, you're still going to write. So and then it's sensory. There's connection between the brain and your writing, and you remember things better. So despite the distance that I experience now, I think the kids still learn because they put their thoughts into words and they draw. On free times, I ask them to draw to express themselves. So that's one thing that is, I think, important and has helped the kids adjust.
That's a good realization, no? Because right now, at this age, at this digital age, everything online, we think of educational innovations and redesign learning experiences as something having to do with technology. But for pre-K and grade school teacher, what we're getting from you, Miss Kate, is that we can still have the basics, because the basics are the fundamental. We the platform of delivering education might have changed, but there are things that you really just can't do without. And I
Yes.
also truly believe that kids really need to learn how to write, because on our receiving end, in the high school, there are kids with handwriting that we cannot read. There are kids that are like, they would prefer like to type than to write. But for me, like I'm a math teacher, I really need their solutions handwritten. We share that same side that things really need. There are things that need to be written. Not everything has to be like automated, online, typewritten, or whatever. There are things
Yes.
that remain. And what I'm getting from you, from all our discussion or our conversation tonight, is that the educational innovation need not to be like high end. It can be the basic and the fundamental things that like most of us forget. Like we don't consider it as innovations, and these learning experiences are really helping kids on the pre-K or on the grade school. And so that's
I
that's
think
a nice.
learning is dynamic. So it
Mhm.
means that you incorporate a lot of skills, you incorporate a lot of methods, inculcate it to make it appropriate for the child. So, of course, as a grade school teacher, I also had to learn the development of children so that you understand, okay, this child really needs to use their hands to write, to express themselves, because once they reach a higher level, at least they are somehow prepared.
Yeah, so for those who have questions for Miss Kate, you can type in the comment section below, or and then we will adjust it later on. So there are weeks where I ask guests or I invite guests to be on the show, and then there are weeks where I do it by myself and address all the questions that you have, and if time permits or if our guests would have us answer it, that would be nice. So as an ending, what is your advice to other educators, or in this case, the educators that we know, the teachers that we know are not anymore the teachers only. It could be like the mother, the father, and we forgot the siblings. Most of these grade school children have siblings like tutoring them for like I can say they have no choice. Having younger brothers or sisters, like it's their task to also help out. What is like one advice that very essential for teachers, for parents, for siblings, or any member of the family handling preschool or grade school children now at this online setup?
So I made a list. I think it's not just one. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. So I don't really since you were asking me prior to this, I thought about the rules that I have established, the things that I have done in class. So there are actually five takeaways for me that I try to do, not every day, but I think in general. This is a tough world we're living. We might not be in the same situation, but of course we're all struggling in different aspects. So for parents, for teachers like me, and for those, for also for the siblings who are assisting their younger siblings, I think the primary thing that you need to do is to really set rules, establish, so that the kids or the children can establish self-control. Now everyone's online. If the teacher is discussing, we can just shift to another tab, right? But then we try our best to really focus. So that's one, set rules, establish self-control. Number two is be conscientious. The concept now that we're doing is mindfulness. Be mindful of the time, be mindful of your role as a teacher, be mindful also of the things that you are teaching them. Number three is ignite their interest, ignite their passion on what they're doing. If they like to talk about their weekend, let them have the chance to speak about their weekend. If they want to talk about or share a skill that they learned, let them do it. Give them a little bit of time. Allow them to express themselves. We have all the time online anyway. They can share it through email, they can type it, but as long as hear them out. Number four is allow them to make mistakes. We are not perfect, no one's perfect, but these mistakes will help them grow, like the same as when you were younger. These are experiences that we carry with us. And the last thing, the fifth one, but the most important is, of course, we come from different religions, different practices, but pray. Pray for strength, pray for pray for good health for the family, pray for a peaceful mind, and at the same time, let's also pray that this pandemic would soon end.
Yes, yes.
Yes,
So
thank you.
very much for those advices, Kate. I know those who are watching us right now have a lot of takeaways. Please type in your key takeaways below, and let's have this a community of sharing takeaways, learning from each one, not just from the host and from the guests, but for everyone in the community watching the show right now. So before we end, Miss Kate, if they have any questions or they have any like tips they want to ask from you personally, is there any way for them to contact you, or how can they reach you?
Yes, they may reach me on Facebook or through Coach Carrie.
All right, yeah, I can link you, or they can email you. Maybe we can put in the comment section below your email where they
Okay.
can reach you. Okay, so thank you very much for your time, Miss Kate. It has really been nice connecting with you, and I hope we will have more interactions with you in the future. We can have you again here. Teaching out of the box, we do not only let out innovations and redesign learning experiences, but we also do reflecting from within, because as educators, as teachers, really what comes out is what's inside each one of us. And these realizations and these reflections that we share here are really something that worth thinking about, worth taking into consideration as we mold the future generation of our society. So thank you very much once again, Miss Kate, and
Thank you
always
also.
remember. Yeah, always remember every Tuesday, teaching out of the box, where inspirational conversations and educational innovations and redesigned learning experiences happen. And you are watching Teaching Out of the Box only on the Greatest Hub online channel. Together, let's discover, develop, and dominate our greatness within. Here in the Greatness Online Hub, great people plus great flicks plus great talks equals the Greatness Hub. Thank you very much, and have a good night. Um, Please stay tuned if you want to stay tuned to the next show that we will be airing. So again, Kate, thank you very much, and I was really happy. It was just tonight, right, that we realized that we were never classmates. We were just schoolmates in high
Yes.
school. But yeah, but even then, the 4 years while we've been in the same school, we have really shared so many things, and it's nice to reconnect again now that we are adults, and hopefully we will be mothers soon. We're gonna claim that. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Bye bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
There's greatness in life. There's greatness inside of you. Let's do greatness with love. Unleash it in the greatness of His love. Transformation that you can have, coming from God above. Welcome to the Greatness Hub. Welcome to the Greatness Hub.
Hello there, I'm Coach Carrie. Join me for inspirational conversations on education innovations and redesign learning experiences. Teaching Out of the Box every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. only on the Greatness Hub online channel. At the Greatness Hub, together we discover, we develop, and we dominate our greatness. See ya!